Hi, I'm David Robertson, Director of Career Services at UC San Diego School of International Relations and Pacific Studies. Today I'm going to talk a few minutes about the importance of conducting informational interviews. If you've never done an informational interview before, it is really a powerful tool for your job search. The bottom line is an informational interview is a process where you go out and interview someone who's going to help you with information that's going to help you fine-tune your job search. So perhaps that's information about their company, about the job that they do. Perhaps it's information about the industry, trends, things like that. And so that information will be very important in your job search, but also equally as important, the purpose of doing an informational interview is also to create a relationship with someone on the inside of the company that can serve as an advocate for you. We all know that about 80% of jobs people get it's through networking, and so applying for a job where there's someone on the inside that you've developed this relationship with that can help get your resume to the right person makes a big difference. Rather, whether it's a day after doing the informational interview or it's 6 months later, that advocate on the inside is really critical. So how do you set up and how do you conduct an informational interview? That's what I'm going to talk about. So you're out there networking and you're meeting people, or you're looking on LinkedIn for people, and you find someone that you'd like to meet with. Ideally, you'd ask someone that you know who knows them for an introduction. Short of that, if you're not able to do that, then certainly a cold call, emailing them or calling them directly, asking for an informational interview, you can do that as well. Of course, it's more effective when you're going through someone that you both know. They're more likely to say yes. When you ask for an informational interview, you want to be, of course, be extremely polite, professional, and concise. I think a key today, especially since so many people are reading their emails on their cell phones and things like that, that you want to keep it very, very brief. So very few words, introduce yourself, ask what you want, be specific. I would say something like you're looking for 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes of their time at the most to interview them. Ideally, you would do this at some place at their work so you can see what it's like to work there physically. But sometimes maybe they'd rather meet before or after work for coffee or something. Or if it's someone in a different city, of course, you would do this over phone or Skype, but ideally in person. Um, and also be very specific about what it is you would like to talk to them about, but don't go into lots of different detail because again you want to keep it short. Let them know if you don't hear from them, you'll follow up with them. Let them know you're serious about it. In general, I would say most of the time most people are happy to do this. It's kind of fun to talk about yourself and to help someone else. And if you don't hear from them though immediately, or let's say within a week, it's okay to write again an email saying that perhaps your email got buried in their inbox and you really particularly wanted to talk to them and so wanted to follow up. And usually people will get the point that you're serious about it and will reply at that time if they didn't the first time. So again, try and go through an introduction if you can. If not, write directly. Be specific, be concise, ask for 15, 20, 30 minutes of their time, okay? So then you've set it up and now it's time to conduct the informational interview. So you want to first do some research on the person and the company and the industry. You don't want to go in blindly. Again, in addition to gathering information, the goal is to build a relationship and an advocate. So you've got to make a really good, strong, positive impression. And if you've done your research and your homework, you're asking smart questions, then they'll be impressed by you. And you're going to come across as being thoughtful and prepared and organized, all things that people want in a potential employee. So what kinds of questions can you ask? Well, maybe there'll be some very specific ones depending on what you're interested in, but things like, how did you get your job here? What do you like best about working at the organization? What would you recommend someone like me who's trying to get in this field do to be successful? What do they read to stay current on the trends in the industry? Things like that. So you'll come up with a list of perhaps 5 to 10 questions you'll go in with, again, prepared in advance. You wouldn't want to walk in unprepared without questions. And you don't want to ask, questions that would be easily found out online, like what are their products and services, those kinds of things. So dress professionally, just really like you would for an interview, which is a notch or two above what the normal dress is there. Um, if it's a startup you're going to do an informational at, you're not going to dress in a suit, because they're going to be probably dressed very, very casually there, especially in an internet startup. If it's a banking financial institution, you'll go in wearing a suit and everything in between. Think about that. And then you'll, of course, want to send a follow-up thank you afterwards, within 24 hours. That's very important. For people that you want to stay in touch with, if it went well, then you're going to make sure you follow up within a few weeks and maybe another month. Check in from time to time, nurture that relationship. Send them things that you think might be of interest to them. You don't want the only time that they hear from you being when you need something. So perhaps it's a month after you've done the informational interview and you read an article that relates to their work. You could send an email saying, "Dear so-and-so, thanks again for that informational interview. And learned so much. I here's some of the things that I did as a result. Also, I read this article, thought you might be interested in." Just send them the link. Again, very short, just letting them know that you're still out there, but you're not asking them for anything. Also, by the way, during the informational interview, a big mistake that people make is they often talk too much about themselves. Remember, this is an informational interview. You initiated this, so you're interviewing them. They should be doing most of the talking. About 80% of the time, they should be talking, not you. If you end up doing all the talking, then they're going to feel like they've been taken advantage of and that you were just trying to get in there to talk about yourself and ask for a job. You don't need to ask for a job. If you're reaching out to do an informational interview, they know that you want a job. It's implied, so you don't need to say that. Of course, be positive and enthusiastic, and remember that you are trying to make this positive impression. It's okay to take notes during the informational interview. They're giving you good information. I'd probably be disappointed if someone wasn't taking notes. It tells me that they're serious about it. At the end of the informational interview, I would summarize the main points that I've learned that I'm going to walk away with. And I think they'll be impressed with that you really heard them. I would probably say something also like, "What is it that I can do for you? You've been so helpful for me. What can I do for you now?" Many people will say, "Well, gosh, what can they do for me? What can I do for them? I'm the one that is looking for something." But you'd be surprised. So perhaps you're you're a UCSD student, and they mentioned that they have a niece or a nephew who's thinking about going off to college. You could certainly offer to talk to their niece or nephew about what it's like to be at UCSD. So those kinds of things, again, will make a positive impression, and again, that's half of what you're going for here. I think that's about it. Like I said, follow up with a thank you, and also keep in touch regularly with them. And hopefully this will turn into something where it will benefit you and maybe benefit them too. These kinds of things should be reciprocal. And if not right away, then who knows, months or years down the line. Thanks.